Hey everyone, Matt Began, and today I want to talk about one of my favorite topics of questioning mentality, the pros and cons to this, and how I use this in business, life, and health. So before I start out, I'm going to start with a little story so you get to, learn about this mindset a little bit more and why I think this is so important. So there's a story of five monkeys in a study that they were in a room, and each time they climbed the ladder to get food, they were sprayed with cold water. And eventually they would take one monkey out of that room and replace it with a new monkey. And then when he would go to climb it, they would pull that monkey down, and because they thought they were going to be sprayed with cold water, right? And by the end of the study, they replaced all the monkeys in the room with new monkeys, and none of them were being sprayed, but they still didn't think that they could climb the ladder to get the food because they thought they'd be sprayed, or they just had a false pretense of like, hey, don't climb the ladder. Something's going to happen. And I think this is really cool. I think there's obviously I butchered the story and dive into it in depth, but I think there's a cool mentality part about that, in that humans can communicate, and there's other assumptions to that story. So whether it, humans would say, hey, we got sprayed before, or don't climb the ladder, something bad will happen, or like as soon as somebody touches that ladder, pull them. So you don't know, the pretense of that, or like what was communicated, but as humans, we can question things and we can communicate. So I think that's, a really cool mentality to have, but I think there's pros and cons to it, and it's something that I'm super like passionate about. But I know like if you dive too far into it, there can be some bad things involved. So let's talk about how I got into that mentality. So I don't know what exactly drives me to question things, but if you know me, I always do. I think it's just like every time I think of something in my head, it says, "Hey, like question this," or like, "Where is this coming from?" So I think when I read things, or watch videos or listen to podcasts, I always have that in the back of my mind, and I think it's a good thing. I think we should always be thinking like outside the box, and I think that's why it always like drives home to me, is like question everything. But it can be a bad thing too, is because say you could be taking longer to do something because you're questioning it, or worse comes worse, you're questioning something that somebody's telling you, and you have to find like the tact way to do that, or the polite way to do that. And then also you might have to just do something without questioning it. So I think of like when I played baseball, or like certain sports, or I had a coach, if they know more than you, like you don't really want to question them, you just do what they say. So like when I'm training in the gym, and coach says like, hey, do this move, like I just do it, I don't question it. He knows better than me, he can definitely see the position better than me, so I just do it. I don't think like, is this the best route to take? I just take my chances. Like he's telling me what to do, he knows more. But then there's other times where like maybe you have a perspective, or you need to think about like what's being told to you. So I want to relate this to business, health, and life like normal. So those are topics I talk about. So I think about in business, so questioning things. So a big thing that I do when consulting with a business, I really love doing, is thinking why we're doing something, or the end goal. That's like a really cool mindset that I do. So say we're paying a bill, right? And the process is said that, well, we always do it this way, so we're just going to continue doing it. Those are like the worst words I ever hear. I hate that. So that means that you're not looking for improvement, and you're not thinking of bottom line, and then you're just doing things mindlessly. So I understand that there's certain tasks that have to be done, but you need to try to think and equate your time to like, how can we improve this process? And you see that with dominating businesses, because they think of normal things and they change them, and they completely revolutionize their industry or their business. And it's like we could all do that if we just think. more and use our heads and think about how do we be efficient or like affect the bottom line or what's best for humanity or the company. Another thing with business is, say you're in a line of work, right? Let's talk about like gold or crypto, right? So we're really good at finding gold, and we know where the most gold is. We know how to get the most gold out of a property. So we start a business where we go up to homeowners and we say, hey, we're going to get the most gold out of your land. We'll share it with you. And the other people around are competitors, and we're going into business, we're trying to be the best gold getters we can be. And at the end of the day, we can only spend so much time like finding the gold, but we also have to split that time with advertising and doing other things to drum up new business, not only just do the business we have. And there's a mindset of, do you want to like chase the gold, or do you want to be providing the tools in your industry for other gold getters? So think of, you're either the one getting the gold and everybody's your competition, or you're supplying the tools and you have the business to teach others to go get gold, or a business to teach out like, even homeowners how to get gold. So everybody, instead of being your competition, is also now in your network and your community. So you could teach other people how to get gold, and then they're your friends, you're starting other side businesses with them, you're building a community, you're enhancing the world. Instead of just taking stuff from people, you're giving back to others, and it's a really cool thing. So I like to think of that in business too, is just because you're in business doing something, like think of how to change it or do things differently. That's how those big businesses are built that change industries or change the world. They look at something, and usually instead of seeing it a certain way, they see it a different way and change it, or they see it as broken and they want to fix it. I think that's really cool. I think it's a good mindset. And like I said, in business, there's pros to that, but then there's cons. So when you're talking to someone and you might question what they're saying, you want to make sure that they're open to feedback. So if a manager or a leader gives you something to do and you have a questioning mindset, think about like how that'll affect them. If you question their task, is it better to just take the task and dominate it in your way and then show them, hey, this is how I did it, and then they're super pumped. Typically, a good leader will give you something to do and let you do it your own way. They just want the goal done. They don't care how you do it. And then you can show them like, hey, I have a questioning mindset. I do it differently, got the goal done, and I did it a different way than you thought. Versus like a bad manager, bad leader will say, hey, micromanaging and say, hey, I want this done, but I want it done this way, this way, this way. And then if you don't do it, you're fired or whatever. But those are typically the people that you can't have that questioning mindset to. They're not really good leaders either. They're just really managers. They're just manage how you do things. So you want to be careful with that questioning mindset of bringing that to them. You may eventually be able to question certain things and break them down, but just be careful. So, a lot of people give, it goes back to my topic. A lot of people give advice, but they don't have like full context. So I don't want people thinking like, oh, Matt will questions everything. I'm going to do it too. If you don't have like the tact or patience, or you're not polite and do it, you got to like practice how you do things. Next thing I'm going to do is equate it to health. So I like to think of certain things that people tell me I should be doing with health or eating or putting in my body. I question, first of all, are they at where I want to be? So that's like my first thing is I see, okay, are they fit? Are they participating in the sport I want to? Do they have the same genetics as me? So I think of like genetics is super important. Not everybody has the same genetics. So what's right for someone else might not be right for me. So I think, if they're not doing carbs, right, they're on like a keto diet, can they process sugars better than me? And then also, are they participating in the same sport as me? So if they wake up, do 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, and 50 squats, and they go to work for the day, and they're like, hey, I eat 2 eggs and that's it, and then I don't eat till 5 o'clock, and I'm on this keto diet. Whereas, I go to the gym, might run, a mile, do 2K on the rower, run another couple miles, do 1,000 meters in the pool, and then sauna, maybe mix in some deadlifts, I need a lot more calories than them. And genetically, I might process foods. I might have a faster metabolism than them. So I'll be starving by, 10 a.m. versus them. They can wait till 5 p.m. because they're doing different workouts to me and have different variables. So I like to question things that people tell me, and then just think of how it'll work. And it's not necessarily being rude, but just making sure it works for you. And a lot of times I won't even say anything to them. I just question it in my head. And then, another thing with like supplements or anything else that you're putting in your body, think of again, like where that person comes from. And then are they doing something out of like advertising or marketing? Are they being told to say these things? Or did someone tell them, hey, this is what works, or you should do this, or you'd be ridiculed, just like the monkey story, right? So they telling you to put something in your body and they didn't put that in their body, or they never even studied themselves. They just use, well, they say you should do this. I like to question things like that. So like what works best for me? And then I'll do my own studies. Obviously I'm not a scientist or like professional with certain things, but I just do my own research and then there we go. And then what I'm putting in my own body, like I'm taking the responsibility for that and putting in my own effort. And again, with life, it blends with that business and that health of just questioning things that you're being told and how to do it better. So I love to make the world a better place versus tearing it down. So like you can even think of it that way. When you see people complain like on Facebook or complaining out in the world or just being negative, is that the best way to get the end result? So like what is the end goal when you have a thought, a saying, or a complaint? Say a restaurant gives you bad service. Is it time to shut that restaurant down and cancel them and take away, their livelihood and all their staff's wages? I don't think so. They just screwed up the sandwich, you know. So like, just question things like maybe even be like a bad review. I struggle with that all the time because it's like I don't know what that person has gone through during the day, and I need to treat them as a person. I don't know like if they're having a lot of struggle in their life and they don't have a different mindset where like a simple thing of them getting a flat tire like ruin their day and they forgot my sandwich order. Am I going to leave them a bad tip and a bad review and want to shut the restaurant down or give the management and the whole restaurant a bad name? No, I think about like where that person came from. So that's another thing we're questioning. It's just think about, other people and different mindsets. I think there's pros and cons to it. Like I said, you just got to be tact with it. But I think it's a really helpful personality, and you can really build some really cool things. You can do some cool things. You can help people out. So if someone's struggling, I like to question them, or because I use it myself. So like if someone's having a bad day, we'll ask like, what is it that's making the bad day? And then ask why. So I took this from another famous person reading a book. They just asked themselves like 7 whys, and by the end of it, that challenge is done. So having a bad day, why? And then name something, and then you say, well, why is that bad? And then they think about more, and it's always like this false like fear or challenge, and then by the end they get to it and it's not that big a deal. So I like to think of things like when I'm stressed out, I'll say like, why am I stressed out? Why is that a big deal? Why does that matter? And then you realize like that huge cloud over you isn't such a bad thing. And then there might be like one thing that I can do to fix everything, and I just concentrate on that. So I hope this helps with the questioning mentality. If you've ever worked with me, now you see a little bit more of like why I question things, but this is something I'm working on daily. So I'm always trying to improve like how I can question things better. And then I wanted to talk about like a workout I did today, hopefully give you some ideas and you can question that workout too. So today, warmed up, let's say like a mile on the treadmill, with little sprints mixed in. Went up, did a rower with a buddy. So do 4 minutes on the rower, try to do HIIT style. So 20 minutes hard, 10 seconds lighter, and then do 4 laps. So 4 minutes on the rower, 4 laps, 3 minutes on the rower, 3 laps, 2 minutes on the rower, 2 laps, 1, and then 1 lap. And what you're trying to do is do like, a longer, easier set in the floor, and then you really speed it up by the end. And then you can do whatever you want after that. But I like the endurance style of HIIT. So I hope that helps. I hope the questioning mentality gives you some motivation and some different ideas to look at life different, business, life, and health. So, all right, send me any questions that you have, and I hope you enjoy it.